Well, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Beeman Show. Today is March 15th, and today we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering, a lot of edits and a lot of clips that are going to be added to the show. We're going to be talking about food, the stuff that we get in the store. And we're going to talk specifically about the declining quality in vitamins and minerals in the foods that we're getting at the grocery store. And so, for an example, we want to talk about the depletion of the quality of the soil that we grow our foods in. And as a result, that the minerals are being depleted in the soil due to modern agricultural practices. We see some serious declines in different types of foods that we are traditionally eating. For an example, the tomato. Everybody at some point in the past has, bought a tomato at the store. It didn't have very much flavor. So the average tomato since around 1950 to this year, about 70 or 75 years, has lost 26% of its calcium, 51% of a vitamin B1, and 59% of the vitamin C. Now, when you add in premature harvesting, we're getting our tomatoes and stuff coming out of Mexico and California. They're harvested while they're still green, and then they're called premature harvesting in order to gas it. So while it's on a truck, it's starting to turn red. Now, that premature harvesting means that the plant hasn't fully developed all the vitamins and minerals. So when you add in premature harvesting and cooking to our fruits and vegetables that we eat, there's hardly no vitamins and minerals in them at all. And before I get into much more, I want to talk about the potatoes and apples and stuff. But I want you to watch this clip from a man by the name of Dr. Weston. Now, Dr. Weston, he's not like a doctor you see when you're sick. I think he has a chiropractor degree. He has a law degree. He served 2 combat tours in Vietnam. And he's a spokesman for an organic supplement company called Sun Warriors. I don't know anything about Sun Warriors because I have never used their products. But listen to what he has to say about the state and the quality of our nation's soil.
Today I want to talk to you about dirt, not the dirt that you vacuum up from your carpet or the dirt that you wash off from your car. Maybe the word dirt is throwing you off a little bit. Maybe a better term would be soil. That medium which we grow all of our plants and vegetables and herbs in that give nutritive value to things. Would it surprise you to know that about 10% of the land on the planet Earth is that which feeds all 6.5 billion of us? In fact, there's some research that's very interesting, yet kind of disheartening. Let me share that with you. A 1992 Earth Summit report, when compared to 100 years ago, American soils are 85% depleted of the minerals and elements that we need to assimilate for our well-being. Now notice that report was 20 years ago. So in the last 2 decades, our soil's health account is probably near bankruptcy. When I was a boy, my mom said, "Steve, eat your vegetables." And I trusted her, made sense to me, and I was kind of obedient. My favorite TV program at that time was Popeye the Sailor Man, the cartoon series. And I used to enjoy watching Popeye when he needed help or needed extra strength. He'd just take a little bit of spinach and he would have superhuman strength and speed. I wanted to be like my sailor hero, and so I ate my spinach. Back then, when I was a boy, a serving of spinach had about 150 milligrams of iron content. Today, that same serving has less than 5 milligrams.
Now that report was, from back in the 2000s. It's been 25 years, since then. How much worse are soil conditions getting? So let's talk about the potato. Everybody likes French fries. Everybody likes a baked potato. So between 1950 and the year 2000, the standard white chef potato has lost 100% of a vitamin A, 57% of the vitamin C and iron, 50% of the riboflavin, or vitamin B1, 28% of the calcium, and 18% of the thiamine. So when you put those French fries in the hot oil or you bake it in the oven, a lot of the vitamins and minerals can be destroyed from the heating process. So what is really left? It's really beginning to decline. Apples, for an example. Apples from the year 2015 through 1960 have lost 75% of their nutritional value. Those are apples. I'm talking normal apples that you would pick off your tree, or some garden apples, or some wild apple trees that you find hunting or whatever. I'm not talking genetically modified apples, because genetically modified apples and genetically modified fruits and vegetables, they're designed to grow bigger and faster, and they have less nutrients. So the apple has lost 38% of its vitamin C, 40% of the magnesium, 40% of the iron, 46% of the potassium, and 42% of the zinc. Now that is a study from the year 1999 to 2015. We're 10 more years beyond that. So the results of this analysis is consistent with 15 other common garden vegetables and fruit. Peaches, pineapple is the same thing, grown in Hawaii. Okay, you've got pears, same way with pears. You have cucumbers and squash and peppers and stuff that you want to grow in your garden, lettuce and other things. It's the same result of all the vegetables in the garden. So there is a solution for this situation, and to help bring back the proper nutrients in the soil, and that is organic gardening, where you use compost and you can get the microbiome back into the soil, and the microbiome can break down the dirt and release the minerals. But it takes a long time for that microbiome to come back. So there is a solution to getting some of these vitamin minerals back into the soil. And it's a product called amazite. So amazite is basically a rock that are created under special conditions, and it has a lot of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that can be put back into the soil. And you spread it over your garden area, you put it down pretty heavy. It takes some time, like when you put down lime, it takes a while for the lime to bring the pH soil back up. But the amazite will bring the nutrient level up immediately. I mean, it's immediate. But it is more dispersed and more easier for the plants to pick up as it begins to micronize in the soil. So let's watch this video clip about amazite and how it's discovered, where it's at, and how it's to be distributed in the garden.
Of central Utah is an ancient seabed where today is found azomite, a product that helps farmers, growers, and animal producers grow everything in a natural way.
We're getting way healthier plants. Right here now, looking at this field, it's just outstanding growth. First pop up early spring, I mean, it was up and going. Pick up a leaf and you can see it's a big fat leaf. It's just a better way to get a healthier plant. The results we've had, the trials we've done with it, we're just getting prettier hay, a little bit more yield. Proof's in the pudding. Once you try it, you'll be addicted to it just because you've seen what it's done.
Azomite is a natural mineral product. The name stands for A to Z of minerals, including trace elements, and it's used quite widely in animal feed and in soil for agricultural production.
Azomite is unique because of an accident, actually, of geology.
About 30 million years ago, Utah, which is where the deposit is located, was under the ocean. The region was volcanic. The volcanoes exploded, the lava flowed down.
Volcanic ash settled into a seabed, turned into rock, picked up some sea creatures. Through the tectonic process, it lifted up.
The ocean retreated, and what was left was the azomite deposit, a mixture of volcanic and sedimentary elements.
Everything came together in a perfect combination that made a recipe that had all of those different micronutrients, the trace elements in it.
And it has 75 of the 86 naturally occurring elements. Kind of a pinkish beige rock.
It's an ideal micronutrient source.
So plants, animals, if they happen to be looking for something extra, they can usually find a little bit of it in the azomite.
And the plants just, and it's the same thing with animals. Having been deprived of micronutrients, when you give it.
Okay, so you can see that amazite is, created under some pretty special conditions where it collected a lot of the nutrients, the diatoms, and all these other things that filter down to the sea floor, and created that mineral rich rock that we can put in the gardens. And the thing is that you'll notice, and I use amazite in our garden, and I notice that the fruits and vegetables have a much more robust flavor, which also means they have more vitamins and minerals in them. Now the plants can produce all of the vitamins and stuff that we need, to have an apple with 100% of the vitamins, or have a pear, or a squash, or a tomato, or peppers, or onions that are 100% nutritious the way they were designed to be, and provide you with the proper vitamins and minerals. That is the secret to that, is to getting the azomite in the soil. Our soils are still, I'm not saying you can't use 10-10-10. I mean, I still put a little 10-10-10 in there. But you're going to want the plant to be able to have the correct minerals so that it can produce nutritious fruits and vegetables, so that when you're eating it, can you imagine, what's the difference between going to the store and buying some chemically sprayed lettuce so it doesn't turn brown in a week, and getting some prematurely harvested tomatoes and some onions and some other, coming home and making a salad with that, which it hasn't got the vitamins and minerals, so I'm eating this because it's good for me. Or using amazite and fertilizing your garden with some manure, some humus and manure soil, and putting the amazite in, and having a salad from your garden, and knowing that the lettuce and the tomato and the onions that you grew and the peppers that you grew, all that has the proper vitamins and minerals in it, and you're eating it, and you can actually say to yourself without lying, this is good for me. This is good for me. I'm eating something that's actually good for me. And you can actually have some facts to back that up. So what I want to do now is I want to get into the lack of nutrition in our food is making us sick. okay, we're feeling sick, okay? That's because, you know, our body's not getting the minerals that it needs or the vitamins that it needs, so you have these cravings, you're eating more, and you're eating more unhealthier stuff. Like, even on this, we talk about depletion of quality, even wheat, modern wheat, genetically modified wheat or whatever, that they can spray glyphosate on, that's down, nutritional value is down 28% in this nutritional value. So any of the food that you're buying in the store is really, really depleted in quality. So I advocate for doing some gardening and getting some of the vitamins and minerals in the food grown correctly. But it's not the only factor. There's another factor. You're being poisoned. There's poison in our water supply. And one of the big poisons is a material called sodium floricic acid. It's a byproduct of, first came on the market as a byproduct from scrubbing the smokestacks in aluminum factories. It's the dust that was in the aluminum factories back in the 1920s and 30s. And what they would do, they'd have the scrubbers, they'd go down the chimneys, and all this white dust would collect up on the bottom of the chimney, and they would collect it and they would put it in boxes, and they call it cockroach and rat poison. And so they would sold in the 1930s as poison, rat poison, cockroach poison. So what would happen is they would walk through this stuff and they would get it on their feet. They'd lick it off to clean themselves off, and then their stomachs would explode, and that would kill the rats and the mice and would kill the cockroaches and stuff. Sorry about that. I had to push the cough button there for a second. So they clean it off and they would explode and they would die. Sodium floricic acid. Now it's a byproduct of the chemical industry, the petroleum industry, and it's being added to our water supply. So I want to read to you a list of towns. Now, I know a lot of you guys are in Massachusetts are watching this, but so I didn't look up any of the Massachusetts towns. I think Springfield does, but I'm not sure about Hatfield and some of the other towns. But you can go on Google and you can simply, push search sodium floricic acid in water supplies in Massachusetts towns, and it will come up. So I want to read a list of the towns in the state of Vermont. I got this list right here, and it's not very long. It'll only take a moment. So if you're in New Hampshire and you're in one of these towns as of the year 2021 and 2022, these towns were adding sodium floricic acid to the water. It's not fluoride, it's chemicals. It's not fluoride. They're adding it to the water, and it causes a lot of health problems. And we have some videos that we're going to add. We have some clips from Kennedy, and we have some clips from other program. We're gonna show some clips here about it being added to the water and stuff like that. But here's a short list, and this is all of the towns that I'm aware of as of 2022 was adding it to the water. Now some may have started or some may have dropped off this list, but this is just a very general list from 2022. Bedford, Belmont, Concord, Conway, Derry, Durham, Greenland, Goffstown, Hanover, Hooksett, Laconia, Lancaster, Lebanon, Londonderry, Madbury, Manchester, Newcastle, Newington, and the Pease Air Force Base, the old Pease Base over there, the airport, they're adding it. Pennacook, Portsmouth, and Rochester, New Hampshire. They are the towns as of 2022 was adding sodium floricic acid to the water. So let's go ahead and let's look at Mr. Kennedy, and let's look at another clip here about this stuff being in the water supply.
Is a poison. My son was saying this. My son was in the hazardous waste industry, and he had taken an exam, and that if a fluoride truck crashes on the highway, they have to clear the highway for miles around, and people come in Tyvek suits and respirators and gloves to do the cleanup. And you know, it's a toxic it's a toxic byproduct of a certain chemical process and oil industry process. And for many years, those industries, it was costing them thousands of dollars per drum to get rid of them. And then they came up with the idea, why don't we put it in the water supply? And they did that, and it causes cancers. Of course, it causes your bones to deteriorate, and it causes severe IQ loss. And last week, a group that I'm associated with won a 7-year lawsuit against EPA on fluoride that I think will result in the fluoride being removed from all the water supplies in this country.
In addition to that, some pretty interesting stuff. And he's not going to win a lawsuit against these big companies unless he's got the facts on his side. And I have a solution that I've been employing for some time now. It's not the best solution, but it's the best bang for the dollar. So I want to share that with you, how to clean up the public water. Now, if you have a well, you may not need to do this, but you should at least get your water tested to see the state of your water. But if you're on a public water supply, and you're especially in one of these towns that I mentioned, you need it. And even if you're not on one of these towns that's adding sodium floricic acid to the water, they're still adding other things to the water, and like chlorine and other things that mimic iodine in the body. So bromine, chlorine, and fluorine, floricic acid, they're a halogen structure in their chemical composition. They're a halogen-based structure, which is the same as iodine. So when you drink that dirty water and you put that into your body and it gets into your bloodstream, your cells send out a receptor for iodine. And that chlorine and bromine or fluorine is in the water, and your cell receptor sees that it's got the halogen structure like iodine. They go, I need that. That's iodine. They grab it. And they pull it inside the cell, and it turns out being toxic. And it poisons the cell, and the cell dies, and your white blood cell is going to come around and get it. That's why this stuff causes cancer. It makes you sick. It makes you weak. It makes you sick. It causes cancer and stuff. And with that stuff in your water, and you're drinking it all the time, it's just a war, just a World War III going on inside your system all the time. So I advocate for zero water filter. And I'll put up a picture of the zero water filter. You can get them pretty much Walmart or Target. I usually get mine at Target because they have, I'm kind of lazy, and I just use the Instacart service. So when I need filters, I do a little order at Target and send the Instacart shopper over and get my new filters. And the filters last quite a while, and they're very effective. The filter in the zero water filter gets rid of lead and arsenic and nitrates and the PFAS, them type of forever chemicals, like from petroleum products and stuff, that just lasts forever. It gets out 99% of all dissolved solids. It gets rid of calcium, magnesium, iron, sodium, chloride, sulfates, lead, chromium, mercury, PFOAs, PFOSs, chlorine, heavy metals, aluminum. Gets rid of the sodium floricic acid as well. Gets rid of that stuff out of there, and it filters it down to 1 micron, or like a millionth of an inch in size, so it gets rid of everything. And it also gets rid of something that they don't talk about. And in full disclosure, you know, Zero Water Filter is not sponsored the program. I'm just telling you the truth about what I use and why I use it. I advocate for them because it's a big bang for your buck. I mean, you can get into some big money with some of these filters, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you know, thousands of dollars for water filtration system, reverse osmosis systems and everything. You can go as big as you want. But I'm saying getting rid of 99.9% of the lead, the rusty iron. Everybody's seen the town water department and the fire departments going around every spring, you know, beginning of April. They crank open the hydrants and flush the system out. And you've seen that water come out of there black and brown and red and rusted water, rusted pipes. They're flushing the sediments and stuff out of the pipes. Well, you're drinking that stuff. And when you're drinking your tap water, you're drinking that stuff. And a lot of them old cast iron pipes are getting rusty on the inside. They have lead soldered joints. You know, they might be buried 6-8 feet in the ground. They don't want to dig them up unless they fail. But they still got lead soldered joints in them. They're all rusted on the inside. There's dirt in there, mud in there. I mean, it's just nasty. You need to use some type of filter system to get that stuff out of the water. Now, let alone the fact they're adding all kinds of different chemicals and stuff in there. So you don't want to drink that stuff. So that's the reason why I'm advocating for the Zero Water Filter, not because they sponsor the program, because they don't, but because it's healthier. It's going to clean up the water. You're being poisoned. You're being poisoned from the bad water supply that's in there. You've got to get it cleaned up.
From tap water is not the same fluoride that is put into toothpaste. Toothpaste contains pharmaceutical grade fluoride, while municipal water supplies do not, because that would be far too expensive. While water fluoridation has its roots in aluminum production, the fluoride in today's water supply is actually a waste product from the phosphate fertilizer.
We're kind of getting to the end of this section of the video, and I know I hit a lot of topics. I've hit some topics like declining quality of our foods, how to increase the quality of the foods in your gardening project. We've talked about that. We talked about some of the contaminations in the water. And I want to hit on one other subject, and we're talking about the quality of organic foods in the store. Yes, I recommend that you try to switch to organic foods, but just be aware that the organic land and the fields and the crops where the organics are grown, organics for the most part is a relatively new marketing strategy in supermarkets. You know, 20 years ago they didn't have this giant organic section. So 20 years ago, all the soil there were the fruits and vegetables of organics are being grown now were all grown by chemical fertilizers. So there's some improvement in the quality of the organic products, but it's not back to what you can make in your own garden. And I appreciate all of you for coming to watch the show today. I hope you've gotten some valuable information. Remember that you are the Patriots. You are the John Pulling Juniors of the world. And I would ask you to please like and smash down that like button. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the program. And also subscribe and share. This program is only going to be accessed because of you and your efforts to spread the broadcast as far and as wide as possible and share it with as many people as you know. And I appreciate you. Thank you very much. God bless.